Ice Age was not only a movie, but it was actually a period of time. No, I'm not joking, this actually happened. You'll have to take my word for it, because I'm a talking kangaroo. The Ice Age was an age of ice. But hold on, why did the Earth go into deep freeze?
Because of this little guy. Meet Scrat, a lovable—
Ice Ages occur for many different reasons. And yes, there have been multiple Ice Ages. They are caused by Milankovitch cycles, which are, basically slight changes in the Earth's orbit around the Sun, sometimes caused by other gravitational pulls. And as you already know, the seasons of Earth are dictated by the Sun. So a change in the Earth's orbit changes the weather of the Earth. These Ice Age changes are said to occur every 100,000 years or so. Ice Ages are also caused by changes in solar energy and atmosphere. Why do they change? I don't know. But I do know that less sunlight means temperatures drop, which means that less ice melts and more ice forms. And if more ice is forming, then the water surrounding it will get colder, and if the water surrounding it gets cold enough, it'll eventually become ice and continue this vicious cycle, known as a positive feedback loop. Eurasian currents are also guilty of these deep freezes. But what was Australia like during this time? Well, it was going through a bit of a phase.
Oh, hell no, man.
Yeah, sorry, this isn't Australia, this is Sahul, the grandfather of Australia. Now, technically, you could say we're in an ice age right now, but you could also not say that. I'll be covering Australia during the time when the glaciers of this period were at their maximum size. The peak of the ice age, you could say, about 20,000 years ago. Now, you may be asking, where is the ice? This is a scam, mate. I thought you said the Ice Age was an age of ice, mate. Calm down. Calm down. This is the Ice Age. And that's why Australia is looking so fat around the edges. Because back then, sea levels were about 120 meters lower. That's more depth than the height of the Leaning Tower of Pisa, Big Ben, the Statue of Liberty, Uluru. Okay, maybe only a third of Uluru's height, but mate, that is a huge drop. Imagine having to drive maybe an extra hour just to get to the beach. That's unbelievable, honestly. But back to the ice. The sea levels were lower because all the water was trapped in the ice. Obviously. Temperatures in Australia were only about 5 degrees cooler, so not cold enough for ice to form. I'm sorry, but it's just the truth. Kind of. I mean, there was ice in Tasmania, but are we really gonna count that? Like, it's not touching the mainland, so, you know, like... And yeah, there also might have been a glacier on Mount Kosciuszko. This is what it looks like today, and this is what it probably looked like back then. But enough about ice and mountains. What was the climate like? Well, it was dry. Very dry. But let's talk about the animals. I quickly glossed over these in my first history video. Go watch that as well. And in this video, I'll give a little more detail and cover some other animals. Like I've said before, Australian animals today are something else. And back then, they were also something else. Now, just look at kangaroos, the face of Australia. These animals sum up everything about this country, from its culture, its heritage, and even its politics. Okay, maybe not politics. Now, the red kangaroo is the largest of the roos living today. And the largest recorded red kangaroo was 2.1 meters tall and weighed 91 kilograms. Yikes. But go back in time about 50,000 years, and alongside modern kangaroos, you would also find the genus Procoptodon, the largest being Procoptodon goliath, a 2.7 meter tall, short-faced kangaroo that weighed up to 240 kilograms. So yeah, while modern day kangaroos are definitely shredded, their ancient cousins were heavy bulkers. So heavy, in fact, it's theorized that they couldn't even hop. Not just because of their weight, it also had to do with their skeletal structure. But if they didn't hop, then how did these guys get around? Well, they walked on 2 legs, like some dino-kangaroo hybrid. Now, because of their tooth patterns, scientists reckon this animal would have ate leaves from branches, shrubs, and other vegetation. It could even lean on its massive tail to prop itself at a better angle, then use its forearms to drag down branches. Speaking of which, let's talk about those arms. They had claws which grew around 5 to 7 centimeters. That's almost the same size as bear claws. While not razor sharp, they provided immensely strong gripping power. Unlike modern kangaroos, which have 3 claws on their foot, Goliath had a single big one which could grow to 12 centimeters. And yes, of course it had a pouch. But hold on, not only were the kangaroos injecting themselves with growth hormones, but the wombats were as well. This is a modern day wombat, about a meter in length, weighing a modest 35 kilograms and having a shoulder height of 65 centimeters. Their ancient relatives, on the other hand, weighed up to 4 tons, stood 1.8 meters at the shoulder, and were 4 meters long. Again, like Procoptodon, it would have ate a mix of leaves, shrubs, and grasses. There was also Phascolactus, a large koala. It wasn't anything out of this world, but it was a good bit larger than modern day koalas. It weighed 13 kilograms, which is the same size as a large modern day male koala. Now, Australia has its fair share of large flightless birds, and this isn't anything new. Around 50,000 years ago, we had Genyornis. This animal was more than 2 meters tall and weighed around 230 kilograms. Scientists assume based on its beak structure that this was a herbivorous bird which ate soft plants, also backed up by the discovery of gastroliths in fossils. Due to its massive and powerful legs, this guy could probably run 15 to 20 kilometers per hour. Funnily enough, there was an even bigger bird in Australia before Genyornis, Dromornis. This guy was 3 meters tall, weighed 650 kilograms and was, maybe, carnivorous. However, Dromornis lived much before Genyornis, around 8 million years ago, which is not the time period we're talking about. Now, with all these monstrous herbivores walking about, imagine what the carnivores must have been like. Even worse. Thylacoleo was a marsupial lion. Not an actual lion, but it served a similar ecological role. Weighing up to 130 kilograms, 75 centimeters at the shoulder, and having a length of 1.5 meters, this was one of the top predators of Ice Age Australia. Despite weighing much less than actual lions, these predators were actually very versatile and capable for their size. Thylacoleo's bite force was up to 4 times stronger than a lion of similar size. In addition to this, they had retractable claws, and as an ambush hunter, they could probably climb trees to stalk their prey. So while it wasn't as big as a lion, it definitely was just as dangerous. Maybe even more so, because this predator didn't need size when it had cunning intelligence and acute senses, with fossil records suggesting their brains specialized in areas for sensory processing and movement. Now, while 130 kilograms is heavy, it's not as heavy as the other megafauna of this time, and it would be extremely difficult to take down an adult Procoptodon of a large species, or a Genyornis. Adding that Thylacoleo was a solo hunter, it's near impossible for it to take down an adult Diprotodon. So I guess the megafauna must have been safe? Nope. Megalania was a giant species of extinct lizard. Kind of like Komodo dragons, except these are the largest known ones to have ever existed. The biggest of these guys could get up to 7 meters and weigh maximum of 620 kilograms. Due to being part of the group that has venomous reptiles, like Komodo dragons, it's theorized that Megalania was also venomous, though this isn't confirmed. But don't get me wrong, this lizard was dangerous enough without venom. And yeah, this guy could definitely take on those mutant kangaroos. Speaking of kangaroos, you know how crocodiles are really dangerous and their body plan is so perfective they've stayed virtually unchanged for millions of years? Yeah, well, in Ice Age Australia, they experimented with land predation. And it worked. Meet Quinaka, a 5-meter long land crocodile that is said to have weighed a bit more than 200 kilograms. This animal could run up to 20 kilometers per hour. Not super fast, but you've got to remember that the massive Diprotodons and Procoptodons were actually quite slow moving. Any other smaller animal would still have to put up a fight to outrun this giant land croc. Now, you may be wondering, mate, where are the snakes? Were there any snakes in Ice Age Australia? Well, of course there were. I mean, this is Australia. Wanambi was a 6-meter long constrictor which weighed about 60 kilograms. A cool fact about these guys is that they had originally risen during the time of the dinosaurs. Also, they were thick as a dinner plate. Funny thing is, we actually have a snake which is more than 6 meters living in Australia today, the scrub python. It can grow to 8 meters, but it only weighs 25 kilograms. So Wanambi was 2 meters shorter than Australia's largest living snake, but more than twice the weight. So what was Ice Age Australia like? Well, I hope I've already answered that question. Anyway, that's all I have time for today. This is your favorite kangaroo, signing out. Have a good one.